A very good morning to you, Nigeria. Oh boy, how I have missed you. Well, not really, sure. This week has been a masterclass in how when nobody in the room checks power or there's nobody there to tell the power of the room, Oga, this is not in the constitution. So let's start at home here in Nigeria. All over the capital, Abuja, and the states, people who are supposed to be governing are singing, Asiwaju, on your mandate we shall stand, on your mandate, on your mandate, on your mandate we shall stand. Yeah, like it's a national chorus. It's not the anthem, not the pledge, a political campaign song. At this point, an allegiance song sung in council meetings at official events on the floor of the National Assembly. Someone should gently remind them that public office is not praise and worship. You swore an oath to the country and not to the cap. Why are commissioners, ministers, lawmakers, and even senior aides proving loyalty with hats and hallelujahs? Oh no, sorry, mandates, we shall stand. Where is the coat of arms? Do we have Jagaban Blue as our coat of arms? The message to citizens is simple. The system now rewards proximity, not performance. You saw it again in the Senate. The president nominated Professor Joash Amubita as INEC chairman. The Senate confirmed him at record speed. No real pushback, no national interrogation about 2027, no loud defense of independence, just, yes, sir. Once upon a time in our beloved country, Nigeria, Nigerians sat in front of televisions and watched as their lawmakers had tough screenings, grilled nominees, some were even rejected. Now it looks like the jobs of the legislature is to stamp whatever comes from the villa. Just last month, October, regarding the certificate forgery scandal involving Uche Naji, the Senate remarked that screening is, quote, not our job, and that the Senate simply confirms. The Senate simply confirms. The implication of this is very simple. It means that the Senate is less of an independent check and more of a rubber stamp in many cases, as we've seen. Separation of powers has started doing group projects. It's now a national Jagaban Blue project. And while lawmakers are busy agreeing to everything, just agreeing to everything, and one of them, Senator Ned Nwoko, found time in his marital scandals to go on national television to say he pities men with one wife because it is like standing on one leg. I have only one. Do I even have a husband? Should I kneel down then? What does that mean? The gall of it. Nigerians are trying to stand on one mill. The formula 001, 100, 011, 010. Just to face, I mean, that's how bad it is. And somehow in that you're reminding Nigerian men to please marry more wives. Can you face the budget? Please? Anyway, this week, Africa's democratic map looked more like a cautionary tale than a celebration of choice. In Cameroon, 92-year-old Paul Biya extended his 4-decade rule after the 12th October 2025 presidential election, officially winning 53.66% of the vote, a result that sparked protests, internet disruptions, and arrest of opposition supporters. Further south, Tanzania's October 29 general election unfolded under curfews, internet shutdowns, and the detention of opposition leaders, rising doubts about whether the contest was ever really open. There are now unverified online claims suggesting that the president may have fled the country amid the unrest, claims for which there is still no confirmed news at this time. But one thing is clear, though, and that is Africa is collapsing. There are no reports yet about from Tanzanian authorities or any credible international sources about the whereabouts of the president of that country. What is verified is grim enough. Dozens of deaths during our protests, restricted communication, and a region where elections continue, but accountability appears increasingly out of service on the continent. And it makes you wonder, where is the AU and all the sub-regional blocs doing about this? Anyway, back home here in Nigeria, there is one question we need to ask, and that is, who does government in Nigeria serve right now? The citizens or the presidency? Because when every song in government is about the president and his mandate, when the legislature rushes to confirm the president's choices, when agencies line up behind the president's agenda without asking what it means for voters, what we have may just not be a republic. What we have is a choir. And I would like to be a member. Nigeria really does not need a choir. Nigeria needs referees. The executive should govern. The legislature should check. INEC should be trusted. And public officials should stop singing mandates and start singing the national anthem. Wait, is it that you people don't know the new anthem? Stop singing the name of your boss. Anyway, welcome to Breakfast Extra. I would say it's good to be back, but it's not. But all the same, I'm back. I'm awake. And I'm ready to say the quiet parts out loud. And I'm not alone. For the very first time, myself and Chiweta is going to be on air together. Hi, darling. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good to see you, Judith. Honestly, you're looking really, really good this morning. And I cannot but relate to what you're talking about as regards the legislative and what they've been doing, especially this week. So during the screening, even for the service chiefs, I could remember seeing a part where the Senate president was literally trying to you know this thing they do in secondary school where people are talking, expo. And people are talking, right? I just thought, okay, so both of you can have your meeting outside. While the screening was going on for service chiefs, knowing what's happening with Nigeria's security architecture, right? Some senators had time to have side talks, and that was quite disappointing. And the Senate president had to tell him, or tell both of them, if they want to excuse themselves, they can go ahead. It just tells you what happens in the National Assembly. Right. People just literally just come there, say what they want to say. Those who want to ask questions who probably feel like they should go ahead and do it, and then they just say, take a bow. And that's it. When they're also going on national television to tell Nigerian men to marry more wives, and they feel sorry for them. You can't blame that senator, though. You're going through a lot right now. Chiweta. Marry? Chiweta.
Anyway, let's get started, shall we? Welcome aboard to Breakfast Extra.
Good morning, Nigeria. You're still tuned in to Breakfast Extra, your weekend window into stories, conversations, and people shaping our world. It's a Park Saturday here on News Central with a lineup that dives deep into governance, reform, resilience, and the pulse of the continent. And of course, I'm still here with Judith, of course. Judith, what story would you say got your attention the most this week?
What story?
Yeah, which of them?
I don't know what I did. I don't know where I was. I swear I didn't do anything. I was just at home, and I've just been having a cough for no reason, and it's not what you think it is. Relax. Anyway, I think everything did catch my attention to begin with. There wasn't anything that stood out more prominent because so much has been going on with Nigeria. Like so much has been going on, not just with Nigeria, but also the entirety of Africa as well. But if there's anything that is more important now more than ever, is that the Sahel or Africa itself is disintegrating into itself. You know what I mean? Yeah. The integrity. It's like when you build a house and the foundation is just piled with, rubbles, and because you're supposed to be on a wet land, and so you pile the foundation with like dirt and stuff instead of like proper sand fill it, right? And then now it's now piling and falling in, it's not caving into itself. And that's what's happening with Nigeria. And not just Nigeria, but the entirety of Africa as well. And it's extremely sad that we're watching a continent that has so much potential, especially with our age median. We have the youngest population in the world. Our number primes us to be maybe the second largest economy in the entirety of the world, we have an opportunity to stand toe-to-toe with China. We have an opportunity to stand toe-to-toe with Asia or Europe in terms of, human capital and development and infrastructure and wealth, GDP. But instead, there are people and individuals who have chosen to remain in power, and we've seen democracies morph into dictatorships, right? And we've seen a sham of democracy play out in the most grueling way, right? Because young people are dying. I can see them on the street fighting for their future. And the level of impunity that is being displayed and, just meted out, unchecked by AU or the entirety of the sub-regional blocks, whether it's ECOWAS and the rest, is extremely sad.
It's really, really, really sad, like you said. And I think at this point in time, we can't even tell which government style, be it military or even democracy, actually suits Africa. Because if you look anywhere right now, we're having both of them in Africa right now. If you look anywhere right now, none of them is really paying off at the end of the day. But anyway, talking about what we have for you today on the show, we begin in Lagos, where the big report takes us to Oworonshoki. The community left counting its losses after large-scale demolitions. Homes gone, livelihoods shattered, and questions still unanswered. What went wrong with urban planning, and where is the human face of government policy? Well, we'll hear from our correspondent Israel Eferobo and community advocate Opeyemi Ogunlami. Then, of course, on Wellness Extra, we focus on a silent but rising threat: hypertension amongst Nigerian youths. Health advocates are calling for national screening campaigns and lifestyle change. A public health champion, Olawale Ogunlana, joins us to break down why high blood pressure is becoming the new youth epidemic. Of course, in our second hour, politics takes center stage. The PDP crisis deepens just weeks to its national convention. Of course, cases, factional battles and defections. Of course, we will unpack what it all means for Nigeria's democracy with party stalwarts, Dr. Adetokunbo Purse and George Turner. Now, yesterday, the U.S. designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern on the religious freedom laws. We will discuss the security and the economy of the country, Nigeria. And our final hour will focus on Africa. Of course, widen the lenses from Tanzania to Cameroon. Elections have raised tough questions about democracy, accountability, and leadership succession. We'll analyze the outcomes and controversies with Professor Akumbon Mac Anthony and Dr. Asong Michael Kumba, asking, is Africa's democratic journey advancing or stalling? All that and more, of course, right here on Breakfast Extra, where we go beyond the headlines for context, for clarity, and for conversation. So grab coffee, tea, whatever it is you can, settle in, and let's make sense of the stories that matter this weekend.
Oh, yes, indeed. But first, let's get started with our dailies, shall we? Let's roll the montage for the dailies. All right, that's our cue there to get started this morning. We start with the major headline newspapers here in Nigeria, starting with the Saturday Punch newspaper. At the top of, right next to the headmask there, I use comedy to expose what government hides. Content creator, Governor Amunike. I remember him. That's a skits guy. I like the one he did with Charlie Boy.
I like everyone he does, actually.
Yeah, actually I saw it because it went viral. I don't follow him. Anyway, at the bottom, they expose inside illegal Lagos nursing college ran by poultry farmer. Interesting. At the bottom there, Trump hammers Nigeria again. It says amid visa clampdown, U.S. president blacklists Nigeria over alleged Christian genocide. Trump's decision splits American lawmakers, politicians, bishops. You can find that story on page 4. At the bottom, digital pimps, Nigeria's booming sex economy, where syndicates use tech to trap youths. That story is on page 20 and 21. At the bottom, I mopped floors to pay my way through school. A uni Loring first class graduate. And that story is on page 24. Right next to it, my father murdered my mother. I'm fine if he kills. Now, my father murdered my mom. I am fine if he killed two sons. I really don't. Away from that, PDP convenes emergency meeting after court halts convention. That story is on page 4. Well, all that story and more, we're going to be discussing definitely the PDP and the U.S. presidency saying Nigeria is now a country of concern due to Christian genocide in quotation. You're going to find the story and more we're going to be discussing today on the news.
Moving on now to the Saturday Vanguard now. The major story here is court stopping our convention, an assault on democracy, says PDP. A party rejects decisions as asked members to continue preparations for a convention, says this is the handiwork of saboteurs, will appeal decision, says Damagum. Is judicial brigandage open recipe for anarchy, says Bode George. Delay is not denial. Some PDP leaders see hope in court's decision. Why PDP cannot go ahead with its national convention, the court explains. You can also, at the far top corner on the left of the Saturday Vanguard, you see Dangote Refinery guarantees consistent PMS diesel supply. And just on the right-hand side, the top right of the Saturday Vanguard, you see the 2025 fiscal ranking. Anambra, Enugu, Abia, Kwara shine in budget report. Producing GMOs, scientific fraud, not agriculture, says Professor Cyril Otoyekan. You can find this story on page 11 of the Saturday Vanguard. We are not in Gaza. Falana condemns midnight demolitions in Lagos and Abuja. Of course, we find a story on page 7 of Saturday of Vanguard. The third quarter of 2025, UBA delivers 538 billion naira PAT robust balance sheet. Terror in the heartbeat, kidnappers turn Edo's forest into fear fields. The story, of course, can be found in page 15 of the Saturday Vanguard. On fuel, Nigeria is apprehensive as depot price hits 889 naira per litre. Price may hit above 1,000 naira per litre with the 15% tax. So there you have it. Headlines in the Saturday Vanguard this morning.
Oh, and we'll move over from that now to the Saturday Telegraph. At the top there, the Christian genocide, Trump designates Nigeria a country of particular concern. That story is on page 4. He mandates congressman to look into the matter. Right next to it is sports there. I would never forget how Lagos fans wanted us dead after draw at AFCON. Okpara insists Eagles matches should be brought back to Lagos. That story is on page 32, so you can behead them when they feel. Away from that, Middle Belt Forum leaders interviews. Some Fulani elites sponsoring banditry for expansionist agenda. Wants Tinubu to change defense minister. Minister of State says military capable of flushing out bandits if motivated. That story is on page 20. Olubadan, Shagai, and Unwa Zurike, others defer on state creation. Infrastructure for Ibadan State takeoff already in place. Oba Ladoja, new states will be burdened on more viable ones. Sage, that story there is on page 4. Right next to it, PDP National Convention, court bars INEC from recognizing outcome. We're going ahead with our convention, PDP. Nnamdi Kanu asks court to strike out charges in fresh motion. That story is on pages 5 and 7. For page 5 there, Zenith Bank posts 917.4 billion naira PBT in 9 months as gross earnings rise 16% to 3.37 trillion naira. You see why you need to put women at the helm of affairs? We always do better. At the bottom there, it was weird emotionally acting with my son, but I'm proud. RMD says younger filmmakers more experimental. That story there is on page 11. And finally, for the Saturday Telegraph, operational efficiency, NAF redeploys senior officers. That story is on page 5. A lot of reshuffling around all the agencies and security agencies in Nigeria. pretty much all of the newspapers, dailies we're going to take for this morning. I would say saddle up and get ready for our very first big report this morning as we kick off the hour officially. And this time we'll start in Lagos with the Oworonshoki demolitions. After the break, stay with us. Good morning. Let's officially kickstart Breakfast Extra. For our first hour this morning, we're looking at a story from Lagos that has already stirred deep concern among urban residents and civil society. In the community of Oworonshoki, demolition teams moved in with bulldozers, leaving many families homeless and threatening livelihoods. According to recent reports, residents lament that buildings were pulled down without proper notice or resettlement plans. We'll bring you insights from the field and hear from the community organizers who are working with affected families and also who have been victims of these demolitions. But first, let's cue you a field report from our correspondent Israel Ferobo, who has been following the demolitions. Take a look.
It's a day of mixed emotions at Olawale Palace in Oworonshoki as the Lagos State government begins the long-awaited compensation exercise for residents affected by the recent demolition. Officials say the gesture is part of the state's commitment to fairness, transparency, and the welfare of its residents.
The governor has graciously approved compensation, and that was exactly what I was striving at. You know, that these people whose houses are demolished must get restitution, and the restitution has come in the way of compensation.
If you look at the total number of people that are being compensated, they are 79 in numbers. That is testimony that what Mr. Governor actually promised people that they will be compensated actually materialized.
The demolition, carried out to pave way for urban renewal project, displaced several families and businesses in the area. But with this exercise, many say they feel heard and supported.
I'm aware about close to 80 people did the enumeration and verification, and I want to believe that all of them will be duly compensated.
You can see everybody that collected the check, they were smiling. If it's not something measurable to what they are parting away on the overriding public interest, I'm sure they will squeeze their faces.
For residents like Mr. Taiwo Lumide, the payment offers a fresh start after months of uncertainty.
I got a compensation for our demolished house, and I'm happy, and I would use this to sort out one or two things and maybe get a rent or something.
At this moment, at least there is a relief. That relief it goes a mile.
I'm happy because it's better than not. So I will try to do compensation to add more on it and go and get a room to stay with my children.
The Lagos State government says the compensation exercise will continue until all verified victims receive their entitlement, assuring that no genuine case will be left out. In Lagos, for News Central, Israel Ifirobo.
Idoko show my faith.
I'm proud of my people.
The early Saturday morning incident at Musafejo Idiaraba community, another location within Yanawuru, but different from the last demolition site, saw residents rally together to stop the demolition of their homes, a move they say threatened their only means of survival.
When they started coming in, I think they started at Ferry, in which they resisted that they are not coming in. And after then, I think they now are repelled of coming here. And we started this and something that, okay, everybody should come out, should come and ask them, on whose authority are they doing all these things? Because this demolition, I think, is supposed to have started because the Lagos State House of Assembly said they don't know anything about this demolition. And many of these people at the House of Assembly, they are saying they are telling us that they don't know anything about this demolition.
When News Central visited the area, residents recounted the origin of the dispute and accused a traditional ruler of instigating the attempt as they debunked compensation rumor.
On Thursday, we learned that there was compensation going on at the Oworonshoki Palace, but we are not really care about who are the people that they are giving the compensation until when we saw it in the press that there are some indigenes living very close to us over there, that the compensation is being given to them. There is nobody behind the thing. Is Oba Saliu Oloworo II is the one behind the whole thing.
A ò gbowó ọba Ọlọ́run Ọba Saliu ló talẹ̀ wa ló ló ń gbowó, àwa ò gbowó lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ o, kò sí láńlọ́ọ̀dù kankan tó lọ gbowó lọ́wọ́ Ọba Saliu, àwọn tẹ́nàǹtì ló lọ ń gbowó lọ́wọ́ pa àwọn ọmọ ìlú àwọn fámìlì ẹ̀ ló fún lówó, kò ń ṣàwà ló fún lówó, ilé wa la fẹ́ gbà padà tilẹ̀ wa talẹ̀ wa.
Ṣé lóòótọ́ gbé bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe fẹ́ ni ẹ̀?
According to them, they lived peacefully in the area for years and now fear that renewed attempts could still displace them.
These are the things they are shooting at us. All our eyes, I think many people got wounded this morning. So we don't really understand what is happening. And we want to believe that, okay, if government knows about this thing, they should come out on social media, maybe on TV or radio. They should tell us what their own gain or their own plan on this issue.
With one person arrested and a fence demolished, the people of Musafejo remain on edge, hoping that authorities will step in to resolve the land dispute and secure their right to live in peace. In Lagos, for News Central, Igbalani Omni.
Thanks to you, Israel Ferribo, of course, for that report. As a matter of fact, the news reaching us right now is that tension is building in Oworonshoki as some residents are getting ready to actually protest, of course, what has been happening to them, talking about the demolitions. And the police have said that, of course, the police, because we're hearing that there's a police presence there to ensure that the protest is peaceful and no one is hurt. But anyway, Israel Ferribo joins us now in the studio, and also joining us is Olawale Ogunlana, the Take It Back coordinator, Koshofe and local government area. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. And just to clarify now, that event just happened on Monday, all right? Okay. So there was a miscommunication. There were kind of wires crossed. The event that Chiwete just described happened on Monday. So it just sets a tone for this discussion that we're having regarding all that happened in Oworonshoki as more demolitions are happening, and we saw that on Monday just after the compensation exercise that Israel covered. Now, let me start with you, Israel, right? You have gone to Oworonshoki. You were right there at the beginning when this happened, how the bulldozers came in the middle of the night, and now we're now here in Musafejo, or Kosefe is part of it now. So this seems to be a sweeping demolition that's pulling down across the entirety of the local government area. What are we looking at this time?
Well, thank you so much for having me. Good to be here. Indeed, you just described and set the tone for the conversation. That event indeed happened on Monday, early Monday morning, the presence of police operatives, which we can confirm is still in force at this time. So the police presence at Oworonshoki and environs is just to forestall any sort of a breakdown of law and order in the area as a result of the demolitions in the area. In that report by my colleague Neil Igbalani, he mentioned an area, Musafejo. So these are places, within Oworonshoki, that have been affected, by the demolition. It's a story that has been building for quite some time now, and we understand that reports have been made, stakeholders have met, the authorities in the area, they've been in touch with the people, and but from everything that is happening right now, it seems like it's a case of the word of some people against another. So some are saying that they were compensated, others are saying no, they weren't compensated. But I've always said it, all through my reportage, that I was there, I've seen people being compensated, but I also do know that some people are also debunking that, hey, those people who were compensated, we don't know them. They are words now, they are loyalists, to the authorities, so we don't know them. We want our homes, our land back. But the authorities, they've said, look, this land that we're talking about here, these are acquisition land for the government. They were not initially sold to anyone. That is the story. And the government is back, is here after so many years. It dates back to the 1950s, by the way. This particular issue about the land, it dates back to the 1950s. And so right now, the government is saying, okay, we're taking back this land. You don't have proper documentation for this land, and so we're taking back this land. But the grievance right now is, it took so long, and you came in the middle of the night, tear gassing the people, and that is indeed the story.
Okay, let me come to you, Mr. Ogunlana. I mean, as a Take It Back coordinator for Kosofe local government area, you work with grassroots and, of course, community groups. What has your organization found regarding the legality of the demolition action in Oworonshoki?
The situation around Oworonshoki, if I heard you audibly, before this time, there have been a lot of games around demolition, and it's not starting in 2025. It started in 2023 when the community, certain area of the community received a notification that they need to leave the area in 7 days. The area worked so much to consult whoever, they didn't know who to consult. So 7 days came and bulldozer arrived in Oworonshoki, beside demolition everywhere. And then people consulted their lawyer, community members consulted their lawyer. Lawyer wrote a letter to task force. Yes, it was the task force they saw around. When the task force would reply, task force said the letter should be rerouted to the Oba of Oworonshoki. That was the response of the head of task force then, Judith Atibi, from Infodi. So when they did that, people did all their best. They wanted to visit the king. The king started making meetings, saying he does not know anything about it. And then after much uproar, the people consulted House of Assembly. They had a meeting. The task force head was there. The Subject General of Lagos State was there in 2023, and they brought out the map of that area. It wasn't government land. It wasn't any acquisition land in that area. That's one. And then secondly, it was stated that they wanted to propose a ferry jetty in that area. Meanwhile, we have already in Oworonshoki an existing ferry that's not functioning in Oworonshoki. And then we kept pushing forward. Now, what's the idea about this demolition? They opted out of the demolition in 2023. They stopped. Later, they came up again saying that the place is for shrine. The king of Owo sent a notification to people that is meant for shrine. They are Igboro, according to him. The people stood up against it. They sent NEWA notification saying they are contravened NEWA regulations, whatever, 2024. The people rose, and thanks to Amnesty International that responded to that. NEWA backed out. So when NEWA backed out, they proceeded to using LABSCA in 2025. And LABSCA came on, demolished the area. This time, it was unfortunate how LABSCA played out. How in about 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we saw Olawale responding to the media that that place is inhabitable and all. But suddenly now, Olawale has gone into silence. It's the Commissioner of Environment that Lagos State is using now. Yet, I need to say this, Governor Baba Jide hasn't said a word with regards to this demolition. He hasn't said anything, and we want to hear from him.
Well, at this point, we have to leave it here. I wish we could continue with this discussion, but unfortunately, we have to close the curtains. Now, we want to extend the right of reply to all the right authorities who are, and that's the Lagos State government. There's an open invitation for you to come and speak on these issues. Why is the demolition happening now more than ever? What exactly is the master plan? Why did you let the residents and Lagosians live in that place for over years, over 60 years, and then finally decide it was time to pull it down? I want to say thank you to you, Okoyemi Ogunlana. Thank you so much, and also to you, Israel for all the hard work in coming in this morning. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, we'll switch gears to our big story. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Health experts are raising the alarm. Hypertension, of course, is no longer just a middle-aged issue in Nigeria. Now, based on recent reports, it shows a surge amongst young Nigerians with lifestyle, diet, and lack of awareness as major drivers.
And so today's guest is Olawale Ogunlana. He has been doing extensive work in health awareness and youth outreach. And he joins us now on the program to discuss the concerns as well as the data. Olawale, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Let's get started, shall we, because we're pressed for time. What did the latest figure tell us about hypertension in Nigerian youth, and how dramatic is this rise that we're looking at?
Okay, so I'm just going to give a background story a little bit. Okay. I think it was 2 years ago. There was I had a 35-year-old man who came in and he had symptoms of stroke. And it was quite shocking, you know, to some of my team members at that point, because they felt that at 35, why are we having somebody who has a stroke case? And, you know, this is the trend that we are beginning to see. A lot more Nigerians are coming down with elevated blood pressure. And part of the reason why this is happening is because a lot of people believe that they are young, so they are not exposed, you know, they are not supposed to be at risk. And the fact that it is supposed to be, in quote, an old man's disease. But then another thing that we forget is that our lifestyle has changed. Our diet has changed. Environmental factors has changed. And people are living in highly stressful environments right now that have put them at risk of high blood pressure. And also, we have to remember that there is a genetic predisposition for people, especially people of color, to hypertension. So when these things happen, when you when you are exposed to environmental triggers, you are exposed to lifestyle and diet triggers, it easily activates this genetic predisposition that puts you at risk of high blood pressure. So yeah, we are having a situation where a lot more people now are coming down with elevated blood pressure, and some of them even up to the level of stroke, because nobody is paying attention to it. And like we always used to say, hypertension is a silent killer, and that is the reason why it is affecting so many people at this time.
Dr. Ogunlana, please give us some details as to, you know, key lifestyle factors contributing to this trend, especially amongst younger Nigerians. I'm asking what habits should be changing and what should remain?
Okay, so when it comes to lifestyle, first of all, let's even talk about it. We are not sleeping enough. I think I'm going to start there. And it might look like a joke, but I blame a lot of motivational speakers for this, because a lot of people say that, oh, don't get enough sleep, don't sleep. You need to. Why men slept? You need to toil. Please, you need to sleep. Your body demands that you get at least 8 hours of good sleep. But then it turns out that a lot of Nigerians now, because of course, the state of the economy, the fact that you need to work multiple jobs, the fact that you need to do so much for yourself and then for your family. So you end up not having quality time for you to sleep. And this in itself is a risk factor that is putting people at risk of hypertension at a very young age. Then there is increased screen time, because a lot of people, of course, what people don't know is that you're spending a lot of time on your screen, and any screen is capable of emitting blue rays, right? So there is this, there's blue light that is emitted from screens, and that blue light actually tricks your brain to stay awake, right? So these are some of the issues that we are current, these are some of the lifestyle changes. A lot of people are working remotely. A lot of people are using their mobile phones, their laptops to work, There is the sedentary lifestyle too. When I was young, I remember, we used to do something called PE, or, physical education, where we would go out and, exercise. You know that this is time for PHE, you need to go outside. But we are rarely seeing that these days. In fact, a lot of people are saying, no, don't allow my child to go for PHE. Oh, my child doesn't need to do PHE because they will break it, they will break their body, they will have fracture and all of that. Because of that, a lot of people are adopting more sedentary lifestyles. Even at work now, everybody is sitting in front of a laptop, everybody is sitting in front of a screen, and they are not, there is no activity again. So there is a reduction in activity. For instance, too, when it comes to transport, you are sitting down driving to work, you are sitting down in the bus heading to work, you are not standing. A lot of people are spending less time standing and engaging in proper activities that will improve their heart health. So these are some of the issues. Then there is the diet one, and I think I will spend a bit more, just a little bit of it. What has happened is we have successfully westernized our diet. What that means is that a lot of people are eating more shawarmas, pizzas, chicken nuggets, things like that. Things that we normally 10, 20 years ago, we were not eating this. We are eating it now. And people have called it like their diet, noodles, right? In fact, if there is any food I have serious beef with, it is noodles. All of these kind of lifestyles are actually affecting us in one way or the other, putting us at risk of elevated blood pressure. And it's not as if each of them is a direct cause, but then it's a risk factor. It is increasing your likeliness of you coming down with high blood pressure at a very young age.
Now, you're talking about, you're an advocate for awareness campaigns and routine screening. So I do have to ask about the visibility, to normalize blood pressure checks the way that we do malaria or even HIV tests. Is it possible to get more younger Nigerians to, get their blood pressure checked routinely?
Okay. One of the things one of the reasons why I feel the work that I do is very important is because we are trying as much as possible to attach or to create a value mindset when it comes to health in Nigeria. Nigerians need to understand that health takes precedence before anything else. And that is the most important thing that can change the mindset of any Nigerian. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is, as you care for your food, the kind of food that you eat, you should also care for the state of your health. If you would have a car and you will not drive it for 2 years without taking it to the mechanic shop for servicing for at least 2-3 times within that 2 years, then you have no excuse for not going to see a doctor at least once a year to evaluate and to check and see if everything is going well. Now, when we narrow it down to hypertension, we need to create a lifestyle that enables us to know that it should be a religion. It should be our religion that when you wake up in the morning, you should check your blood pressure. After you've done your prayers and your meditation, the next thing you should do is to take your blood pressure machine and check your blood pressure. Why I'm saying this is because, like I said, people of color and people, black people, like, African people who are, of African origin are much more likely to develop hypertension for reasons that are yet to be discovered. So it is very, very important for us to adopt a new lifestyle and a new approach when it comes to, blood pressure. It has to be a lifestyle. Right now, what I'm saying, I'm going to give an example. A couple of years ago, I remember when I was a young child, drivers didn't see it necessary to wear seat belts when they were in traffic or when they were heading into the road, until the federal government came up with an initiative that if we catch you without you wearing a seatbelt, we are going to fine you. And before you know it, people started wearing seatbelt not because it was safe, but because they were going to be punished. But eventually, people started adopting a mindset that right now, nobody enters the front, the driver's seat or the front passenger seat without considering first to wear a seatbelt. Now, I'm not saying that kind of approach is the kind of approach that we need towards health, but I'm saying that we need to adopt and embrace a mindset, a value mindset towards health. For instance, when it comes to checking your blood pressure, we need to come to that position where when you wake up in the morning, the first things that you do after you've said your prayer, greeted your family, is to check your blood pressure, is to understand that you need to have a sphygmomanometer at home, is for you to understand that once in a year, your family needs to take a trip to the hospital, and the hospital shouldn't be a place where you are going because you're sick, but because you're going there to check your status and to prevent sickness.
Now, when we look at urban youth settings, now I'm talking universities, tech hubs, informal sector, what obstacles would you say exist for, prevention or early diagnosis of hypertension?
Okay, so when it comes to that, I want to say that I think what is the greatest challenge is that these hubs, they are good, first of all, but I think they are much more centered on the productivity and the work and not on the wellness. The wellness of the individual is not prioritized enough, right? I am a proponent of ensuring that these spaces, these hubs are prioritized not just for productivity, but for wellness as well. They have to ensure that these centers, for instance, you should have a sphygmomanometer, a digital sphygmomanometer in these tech hubs that anyone can work and, can walk in and check to ensure that they have their blood pressure checked after they've been standing for a while. There should be measures to ensure that when you've sat down for about 30 minutes, you should be encouraged to take 30 minutes, or if you sat down for 1 hour of work, you should be encouraged to, stand up from the system, take a break for 30 minutes, and then engage in some cardiac activities. These are some of the initiatives that we need to adopt. We need to ensure that these hubs are not just hubs for productivity and startup life and startup culture, that encourages sedentary lifestyle. People will be sitting down for 8 hours, coding, creating, animating, writing, doing all of this work on the screen, but they are not taking breaks. These things have to be prioritized, and these workspaces have to be injected with a bit of wellness towards the individuals in recognition of the the culture and the new way of work that has become a trend in young people.
Finally, as we wrap up this segment, I do have to ask, what would be your top 3 interventions, when we look at a way to sort of launch a national youth-centric hypertension program, whether it's an awareness campaign, what would be your top 3 interventions? What would you like anyone who's organizing, or if you are them of affairs, to sort of focus on? Very quickly.
All right, that's a very good question. I would say that at the moment, I'm currently working with with CCSI there is a widespread campaign to ensure citizen education as regarding diet, which is, the regulation of salt and sodium in our diets, to ensure that people can adopt a lifestyle. So to directly answer that question, first of all, we need to meet young people where they are. And that is why interventions through public health literacy on digital platforms is of utmost importance right now to Africans and to Nigerians in general. Another thing is we need to have some level of reward system for people who prioritize health and wellness. What I mean by that is, there should be some maybe kickbacks in, for instance, you get insurance points if you check, you ensure that you go every year or twice a year for health checkups. You should be able to get some loyalty points that will allow you get access to some certain medical interventions that you would have otherwise paid for. Another thing is to ensure that there should be wellness has to be injected into our workspaces. So for instance, even in public institutions stations, even in public workspaces, there should be digital sphygmom and manometers, community health extension workers who are there to provide the basic health education that will that's not just the basic health education, but then the basic health screenings that will keep Nigerians and the citizens on their toes. So even in private healthcare, even in private settings and in private workspaces, I will also advocate that there are wellness services that are also injected into these things. Public, when it comes to lecturing and teaching and educating your employees, that should be done. When it comes to health, when it comes to checking and screening on a routine basis at least once a year, that also has to be done. Ensuring that citizens also have access to social health insurance as a basic health right. That is also something that I will advocate. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And also, just to put it out there, there are a number of pharmacies that you can go to get your blood pressure checked for free and also get your weight checks for free as well. So just a PSA out there for individuals. Judith.
Thank you, Dr. Olawale, for shedding light on this hidden but growing health threat. And of course, as we wrap this conversation, please remember that blood pressure is not about age, all right? Do make it a habit for yourself to actually go check your blood pressure. It's quite as important as you making your daily prayers or even having breakfast every day. Ensure that you check your blood pressure.
Do they have breakfast every day these days?
Of course they do.
Okay. All right. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we come back, we kick off our second hour officially as we go a deep dive into party politics. And this time is all the scandals and everything surrounding the PDP convention. After the break, stay with us.
Welcome back. Still Breakfast Extra here. And of course, our next big story is one with serious implications for the health of our democracy. Now, the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, was once Nigeria's dominant political vehicle. And now it's heading into a convention scheduled for between the 15th and the 16th of November 2025, of course, this year in Ibadan, Oyo State. Now, but rather than presenting itself as a confident opposition ready for 2027, the party is facing multiple internal storms. We're talking legal injunctions, factional wars, allegations of document forgery, suspicions of sabotage from within, and a sweeping sense that the party may be unraveling.
So just to put it very simply, the umbrella may be battered and the cracks are showing. So to help us unpack this, what's really happening and what's at stake and where the PDP goes from here, we have with us here in the studio Dr. Adetokunbo Pierce. He's a PDP chieftain and joins us live in the studio. Also joining us is Judge Turner. He is a zonal secretary, PDP South Zone. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for coming on to the program this morning. Let me start with you, Dr. Pierce. Good morning to you, sir. And I'm just going to state the obvious. The convention, the PDP convention, is just weeks away, yet the media reports describe it already been set back or beset by 5 major hurdles. To begin with, we have the court orders, internal sabotage, we have dodgy delegates list, as well as regional rivalries and changing rules. From your vantage point, what is the most urgent internal problem that the party must address in the next few days?
I think that the picture you've painted is not exactly accurate.
Okay. Please say
the party has challenges going on to the convention. People don't want the convention to hold some members. But the issue is this: a lot of information that was given as leading to the problems are misinformation, totally wrong. Call them lies. Number one, I heard an interview from some of the, in fact, I think it was Judge Turner himself who said that INEC claims that the letter authorizing the convention was supposed to be signed by the national secretary and the chairman, and that it was only signed by the chairman. That is totally wrong. It is irresponsible to bring that kind of thing up because it is not right. If that letter was not signed, duly signed by the national secretary, how come he said his signature was forged on the letter? In other words, his signature is on the letter. So it is wrong to say it was only the chairman who signed. Now the issue of whether it was forged or not has been cleared. It is not right. Evidence upon evidence to show that was not right. And secondly, they said 14 states have not had their congresses. That is wrong. There are 5 states that are in contention. Let me explain what they are.
Okay.
Kebbi, Plateau, and Cross River. In contention because they did not have a state congress. However, the state congress is not the only vehicle where we have delegates. We have delegates coming from the world congresses and from the AJ congresses. So, the law says that we must have 2/3 of our delegates before we can have a convention. We have more than 2/3 of our delegates. That is the point. Kebbi, Plateau, and this Cross River, the 3 of them have, in each World Congress, which they've had, they have national delegates from each local government. There are about 18 local governments. So you have 18 delegates. All the LGA chairmen, the 18 LGA chairmen are also delegates. So we have 18 more, 36 delegates from each of those states. Now, you also have statutory delegates, former governor, former senator, former this. In other words, the only problem we have in those 3 states is that the state ESCO has not produced delegates. That's not going to stop the convention because you don't need 100%. This thing is ongoing. The party is well represented if more than 2/3 of the delegates from those states are in place to come to the convention. That's why we had the convention. Also, the other 2 states where there's contention is Delta State and Akwa Ibom State, where, as you know, we lost the governor.
Right.
Once the governor left with a lot of people, the National Working Committee, which is the authority that determines how things are run for every state, decided to have a caretaker committee in those 2 states. We have that in place. There is nothing wrong with our structure. What is wrong is that you have some elements in the party who do not want to obey the rules of the National Working Committee, and they are stating their own rules. Right. Mr. Wike went ahead and had a congress in the South without the approval of the National Working Committee. So the National Committee rejected it. He is saying that unless you accept what I have done, contrary to your rules, you will not have your convention. That's why we have the problem.
Okay. Now, very quickly, Mr. Turner, I'm going to give you a right of reply there, but before we do that, let us switch gears. Now, we do know that the local government elections are underway in Niger State. Let's give live updates on that. Our correspondent Aisha is on standby with the latest. Aisha, good morning to you. I can see that activities are underway. Talk to me. What local government area are you at? What's the security presence like? And is the process going on smoothly with the beavers and accreditation?
Because most of the sensitive materials are yet to be deployed to right now we are
Unfortunately, we cannot continue with that live report. Aisha Salihu, our correspondent live from Niger State, as the state has its local government elections underway. Mr. Turner, Chiweta has a question for you, but first, before that, you have a right of reply.
And Dr. Prince, good morning. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Good morning, man. Good morning.
Let me say that Dr. Prince and I have come a long way, and as I do know him, he's one person who will speak his mind at any point, and he tries as much as possible to stay on the facts. It's also a bit biased about the FCT minister, I don't know white and for whatever reason. But to have a robust conversation on this subject, I will appeal that Dr. Pers will have to be a bit, free-minded. Now, the court, as you know, is a court of facts. It's not about emotion. I went to court. At no time did I, in any of my depositions in the affidavit, there was never a time I said that the notice for convention was signed by the national chairman alone. What I said was that NEC did approve that as part of preparations or activities leading up to the convention, there should be congresses in Ebonyi, Anambra, and the Southeast zone. And that in furtherance of that directive of NEC, the national chairman and the national secretary did jointly send a notice to INEC, but that surprisingly, the chairman acted unilaterally by sending a notice to INEC postponing those congresses alone. He signed alone without the national secretary, and the documents are there, which we put before the court. And the court said no, he had no powers to do that. We even said in our affidavit that the party had not notified INEC of the Ibadan Convention because it was not known to us that there was any notice to INEC. And INEC, in fact, in their counter affidavit, admitted that there was no notification as at that time. So it was now the national chairman, in his own counter affidavit, deposed to by him and another one by the national financial secretary, that now said they had sent notice to INEC and attached that letter as affidavit, that as an exhibit. It was at that point we were seeing that letter for the first time, and it was at that point Senator Samuel Anyango, our national secretary, as it were, was seeing that document for the first time, which was how he now, that was how he knew that his signature had been forged. So that is it. Now, there are things that are obvious. It's not about people who do not want the party to hold convention or people who, they have tagged the number of us. The fact is that, for instance, can Dr. Pers, in all sincerity, say that all was well in the manner in which the party was carrying on with preparation for this convention? Who are the aspirants? Where did they purchase their forms? Dr. Pers knows that the tradition in our party is that the National Organizing Secretary takes charge of giving out and receiving completed forms. Payments are made to designated accounts, and you pick your receipts from the finance directorate, the office of the National Financial Secretary, and then you move on to the office of the NOS to pick up forms. The NOS have said to the hearing of all Nigerians that if there is a convention for Ibadan on the 15th, he has not seen a form. He does not even know what it looks like. Does it not call for worry? Does it not raise some concern for people, leaders, very distinguished and outstanding leaders like Dr. Pers, to ask questions that what is happening in our party? What is happening with the administration of our party? It's not about Wike. It's not about people.
You're the only one who just mentioned that name here. Nobody's mentioned the name except yourself. But the South-South zone is quite worrisome, and I would say this because it's a region that used to be a very stronghold for the PDP. And we're seeing, the tides change completely. But we're going to get into that, Mr. Turner. But very quickly, Chiweta, I understand our correspondent is on standby?
Exactly. We have Aisha Sali, of course, bringing reports from the local government elections happening in Niger State. Aisha, if you can hear us clearly, we would like to know exactly what's happening there, and of course, for you to give us updates on, the situation of things where you are right now.
Aisha, I'm sorry, we have to cut off that live report again, but unfortunately it's due to connectivity issues. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, we'll continue with the internal wranglings in the PDP. After the break, stay with us. Hey, welcome back. You're watching Breakfast Extra here on News Central Television. Our very second big story, and the one to kick off this hour, is the internal wranglings within the PDP. The issues continue to pile up on itself. A lot of questions are being raised about the future of the PDP. Our guest today is Mr. George Turner. He is one of the delegates from the South-South Zone, a member of the PDP representing the South-South Zone. Also here with us in the studio is, of course, Chief Pierce, who is a chieftain with the PDP. Chiweta.
Yeah, Mr. Turner, of course, made quite some huge claims before the break, and I think it's only right that we allow Dr. Pierce, of course, to react to that.
Yes.
The problem in the PDP is that you have saboteurs within the PDP, National Working Committee. The national chairman, Ambassador Damagu, mentioned it yesterday after the court judgment, but he didn't mention names. Now I'm going to mention the names so that it will be clear what is going on. By the way, Judge Turner, I've known him, as you said, we've known each other for a long time. Let me put this on record. I was the chairman of the South-South Zonal Congress that I brought Judge Turner in as secretary. But his term has expired. Judge Turner is not the secretary. They don't have a secretary. You know why? When his term expired, that is his whole team that I brought in, with Judge John Obi as the chairman of the South-South Congress. Minister Wike decided on his own, without permission from the National Working Committee, to hold a South-South Congress and elect his own people, including Judge Turner, as his own secretary. Therefore, as far as the National Working Committee is concerned, Judge Turner is not, because there's a caretaker committee in place there because they have not had a formal Congress authorized by the National Committee. When I went there as the chairman of the South-South Congress, it was on the appointment by the National Working Committee of the party. That's how you do it. Hosted by Wike, all the governors of the South-South were there then at that Congress. That's how you do it. This time round, Wike did it by himself, for himself, and put his people in place. It is not acceptable to the party. We don't accept it. What is going on inside the party is that the National Secretary, the National Organizing Secretary, the National Legal Secretary are all working for Minister Wike to undermine the progress, survival of the PDP. Mr. Wike has made it clear to everybody, time and time again, that he is working for Tinubu's re-election. He claims by word of mouth he's a member of the PDP. Yes, he's a member of the PDP. In name, he's an enemy within. So whatever he does, whatever his people say, is due to contradiction. The National Organizing Secretary, who claims that he never saw anything, according to George, must be out of his mind. There is a published schedule of events throughout the year, published in July of this year, leading to the end of the Congress and the end of this term of people in office in the National Working Committee, which ends at the end of the Congress. They have to transfer power to the new executives in December, next month. And that's what they're fighting not to do. Before they leave, they want to damage the PDP. It's not going to happen. Because they want APC to be the sole party running in 2027. It's not going to happen. We're not going to have a one-party state in Nigeria. So this is the problem. How can the National Organizing Secretary say he doesn't know anything when he's the one that signed the schedule? It's on schedule. By the way, I sent it to you, to Mazi, before today, so that you can see the schedule, copy of the schedule, signed by the National Organizing Secretary. What you do is, he said they don't know how the forms went about. This is an internal matter. By the way, you know, the Supreme Court has said these issues that was judged yesterday by what's the name of this judge? Yesterday?
I've forgotten his name as well.
That judge is done what he can, probably based on the information they gave him, which is a lot of misinformation. Supreme Court has said these are internal issues of the political parties. So that's why when we go to appeal, we are very sure that all will be well when we present all these facts. Look, the process is this. September 3rd to September 22nd is as published in the schedule, official schedule of the PDP, is when you go to purchase your forms. Nomination forms, interest form, expression of interest forms. September 3rd to September 22. Then you go to the finance office in Wadata Plaza to pay for the forms. The schedule has been there. Did you see the schedule, Mr. Dotona? Did you not see the schedule? You say you don't know anything about it. That is totally irresponsible. A lawyer of your type should not say things like this. The schedule was there. By the 26th, according to the schedule and date of activities, you must return the form to the office of the National Organizing Secretary. It's all there. So if you didn't purchase the form, this is what I said about Lamido. If you didn't go to purchase the form from September 2nd to September 23rd, when it was open,
right,
then, and you couldn't return the form by September 26th, now October 20, you are complaining that they didn't sell you form. What happened to you people? What are you trying to do? All I can say is mischief, attempt to sabotage the PDP. That's what's going on.
Just to clarify, that judgment was delivered by Justice James Omotosho.
Yes, Omotosho.
Is who that upheld that was brought to you. Upheld the case that was brought before it by 3 aggrieved members of the party.
Sure.
Let me come to you, Mr. Turner. There are very huge accusations here. Number one, that the principal of one of the huge stalwarts of the party, who was the former governor of Rivers State and now the minister of the FCT, and who has stated very clearly that he's working towards a second term for the president and is loyal to the president, has been named the enemy within by Dr. Pierce. And he's also thereby implying that anyone who's working for him are agents of the enemies within. Are you an agent of the enemy within?
You know, I started my opening remarks, by exposing the fact that my big uncle here, Dr. Perez, for whatever reason, I don't know, has his bias against.
For the reason that he declared he's working against my party.
They are unfounded allegations. I don't think I want to join issues. The facts are clear. Nobody has done and sacrificed for this party as much as Minister Wike, and Dr. Perez knows this as a fact. Nobody has worked to keep this party together, and even up to this moment, nobody is, so committed, positively committed, and working for the success of this party.
If you say that, then that means you're. If you say that, what happens to Bode George? What happens to Bukola Saraki? What happens to the other stalwarts of the party who have come out nationally to continually, who have unflinching faith in the party?
this party would have long gone after the 2015 elections. If Dr. Pez will want to be sincere, he will tell you for free that it took the guts and the strength of Minister Nyesom Wike, then Governor Wike, to rally around, support here and there to ensure that this party survives up to this moment. Dr. Pez is live there in your studio. You can ask him if these facts are deniable. So I don't want to join issues. If Minister Wike wants to destroy this party, he will not bother to point out all of these illegalities which are capable of collapsing this party after convention. We saw in Zamfara how a party won elections, and after every said and done, those elections were set aside and the victories handed down to our party, the PDP. We saw in Rivers State in 2019 how the APC could not field a single candidate, on issues of impunity and disobedience to court orders and all of that. The same situation we are in today as a party. And if Minister Wike truly wants to collapse the party, I doubt if he will be raising these issues now to say, look, there are dangers. We must attend to this issue because they have the capacity to destroy us tomorrow. He would wait. He will sit and arm himself with all of these bullets and strike at the appropriate time. But no, PDP runs in his DNA. Wike is so passionate about this party and he wants the best for this party. Now, listening to Dr. Pez, he said that September 20th award was scheduled for picking of forms, and he has rightly stated that you go to Finance Department and you go to the office of the NOS. Let us assume, without considering that forms were collected and submitted within those periods to the NOS. The same NOS who should have issued out those forms on those dates and who should receive them back have clearly come out to tell Nigerians, we saw him with addressing Sule Lamido, that I don't have these forms. I never had them yesterday. I don't have them now. I don't know what they look like. I personally have been to the party secretariat on countless occasions on those dates to purchase form from National Secretary. No, I can't find any form. Now, Northern leaders met and tried to reach a consensus among three of our leaders. His Excellency Sule Lamido, His Excellency Shekarau, His Excellency Makrafi, and then the learned SAN Aminu Turaki. Now let us assume that Sule Lamido was favored at that meeting as a consensus candidate for the national chairmanship. Where is the form that Sule Lamido had with him as at that time that the northern leaders were meeting to choose a consensus amongst them? This is the same Sule Lamido now who did not make the consensus to be national chairman that is coming to look for form.
Well, Mr. Turner, I'd like to button at this point in time, but we'll have to take a pause on this conversation. And when we return, of course, we will continue as we're having conversations as regards the wranglings within the PDP.
Mr. Turner, if you can hear us, we're coming back to this discussion. We just need to go on a short break. If you do not mind, just very quickly, we need to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation continues. It's heated here. Stay with us.
Welcome back. It's Breakfast Extra here, and trust me, the conversation is heated up as we are talking about the infightings, if I must put it that way, as regards the PDP as we count down to the convention. We have Mr. Turner, of course, join us virtually, and we have Dr. Pierce here. And there's one name that has, of course, been mentioned, which is, of course, the Minister of the FCT, who is the former governor of Rivers State. And Mr. Pierce, you mentioned the fact that you think he's an enemy with what he has done so far. My question is, what is the PDP doing about that, and why hasn't something been done as to why he's still a member of that party?
Mr. Turner talked about Mr. Wike's contribution to the party.
Yes.
Yes, that's true. But that's in the past. He was the family head of the party in 2015-2019. But now, he's become an enemy of the party because of his own declaration. He has said he's going to set fire to all the PDP governors that don't support what he wants. What did Wike want? 3 things. 1, he wanted us to reinstate Anyanwu, who is his right-hand man. After Anyanwu left his job as National Secretary and went to Imo to contest election. By the way, when Anyanwu got to Imo, in the first place, how did he get the ticket to be governor? Wike twisted arms, made sure he got the ticket. Against all reasonable observation in the state. When Anyanwu got the ticket, got to Imo, almost everybody in the state ESCO of Imo State left our party because of him. Wike also wanted us to withdraw the case against the President Tinubu in Rivers State. He wanted us to support the removal of Ubara and the imposition of emergency rule. The party said no. Those are the things he wanted for our party. He wanted us to return all the House of Assembly members who had defected on video, on record, that they had gone to APC. And he wanted us to bring them back into the PDP. National chairman was, you see, the reason why they haven't been able to get rid of Wike in the party is this. 1, as a member, leader of the party for so many years, very influential in the world. Most of the people appointed or elected into the National Working Committee today, many of them, most of them, including the national chairman, Damagun, were his friends and supporters. So it took a long time for Damagun to realize that, look, the way this is going, this might going to destroy the party. Now he took a stand. Some of them, like Anyanwu, like Bature, and the legal secretary, have remained faithful to him, and they are within the structure. Powerful positions: national secretary, national organizing secretary, national legal command. This is why he's been able to keep on talking about being a member of the party while he's doing damage to the party, and he's not ashamed of it. He has declared enemy. He declared himself enemy of the party. The past is the past, the present is now. So this is where we are. Going forward, the party will appeal this judgment. And after that, we continue with preparations. 70% of our delegates are in place right now. They are ready to come to convention. Where we don't have delegates is where we have caretaker committee. And the caretaker committee, I believe some of the members there who are still in the party will come as delegates. They had ward congresses. In every ward congress, you elect a national delegate to the convention. In every state, virtually, you have all these people. For instance, in a state where you have 20 local governments, you're going to have 20 delegates. And then you're going to also have 20 AGA chairmen. And then you will have statutory delegates. So this issue about what will happen to, if Wike loves us so much, why is he saying he wants to destroy the party and he wants to work for our enemy, our opposition? Now, this is crying louder than the bereaved. It's hypocrisy for anybody We're ashamed to say Wike is a friend of the party, is trying to build us. No, we don't want his kindness. We don't want him to help us. Let us help us. If we perish, let us perish. And let him take care of himself. Let him continue to work for the person he wants to work for. For us in the PDP, after this National Elective Convention, we will go on next year to have our primaries, where we will produce a candidate that is energetic, much younger than all these old people you have now, that will look forward to reorganizing Nigeria and making us progressive economically and secure the country. Good governance will change.
The person who must not be named, although we've named him Wike, is also, as well as the South Zone, has said that the ticket for the presidency, if the primaries were to be held, must come to the South, and I think that's one of his huge grievances.
It is not his own calling. The party has already zoned the presidency to the South.
Right. Wait, So hang on, right? I mean, before this happened, they were saying that they were garnering. I mean, even when the primaries had happened far back during this last election cycle that produced the APC's Tinubu's administration, he always was going for that ticket, and when he was unable to get the ticket, we saw the grievances that fell out from it. But I do have to ask about the PDP, right? And its mechanism when it comes to disciplinary measures. There are members in the party besides Wike who have had grievances with the party as well, right? And precedents have shown. But I do have to ask, why is it that the party always sweeps things under the carpet, or it seems that the disciplinary measure is always so weak and inconsistent, and it has now bubbled into this avalanche or volcano that we're all trying to pile back into its hole?
I agree with you that that is a flaw in the PDP, but that is truly the complexity and the shortcomings of true democracy, where you allow everybody and everybody's mother and father to say what they want to say, and there is no one person in PDP, not one person in PDP, who controls everything in PDP. It is a question of expression of opportunities for equal opportunity for everybody. That's why you have the problem. The National Working Committee, headed by the national chairman, unfortunately, in these last few years, we've had a temporary national chairman, and he has not been substantive. And I think acting national chairman, I think that is part of the problem. And in the PDP, you have all the powerful people in Nigerian politics, all former governors, former deputy governors, former ambassadors, former senators, former this, former that. It is so difficult to manage these people. The last 2023 election, we had many of our leaders who were working against the candidate of the party. I felt at the time, I was one of the spokespersons for Atiku Abubakar, because if you allow the man to buy the form, that means he can contest. They never had clear zoning at that point, because we really don't have clear zoning in PDP except for the first time now. And that's why people are also challenging it, because it's strange. They say you are zoning to this, zoning to that. It's very unusual.
Let's just hear from you, Mr. Turner, please, in 1 minute. In 1 minute, I insist on that. Please, and just tell us what you think should be done to, or what should happen in the PDP that would make them, a perfect and strong opposition party come 2027.
And most importantly, does the PDP stand a chance in the South-South, given the massive defections that have happened in the last 6 months?
Say a big thank you to Dr. Pez for acknowledging, Minister Wike's role in keeping this party together. The rest of the allegations and things he has said, they are unfounded, and I won't bother myself with them. Now, the PDP has a chance to survive even in the South and elsewhere, even across Nigeria. I mean, even in the presidential election that we are talking about. When Mr. Nze went to work in this administration, he got the approval of the party to do so. Now, the point is, leadership must sit up. We have diverse opinions and people from various backgrounds who have come to make up this party. You must manage interest. Politics is played along interest line. It is not emotion, it is not religion. If you want to preach morality, you go to the church and become a pastor. But once you have chosen politics, it is played along interest line. You cannot sideline. You cannot assume that, because Minister Wike has said he's supporting President Tinubu, therefore will sideline him and all his people from the activities of the party. Then you kill the party. Because we are all here and we own this party and we belong here. It is your duty and your responsibility as leadership to manage all of us. So I want to appeal to the leadership of this party. This is the time. We don't have enough time on our hands. This is the time to come together, bring everybody on the table, and let's chart a way forward. We are all committed to the progress of this party, and we still believe, and I do hope, that the PDP remains the hope for this country. And Nigerians have their belief and faith and confidence in this party. They are just waiting for leadership. We missed it in 2023 because of arrogance and the kind of impunity we are seeing now, grandstanding that we are seeing now. They have started again. Okay. I want to advise that leadership, this is the time to come down from our high horses, stoop to conquer. All right. Together, we can achieve greater things for this party.
All right, so thank you, Dr. Pierce, of course, here in the studio, and Mr. Turner also, who joined us virtually. Thank you for your frank and I must say timely insights. What we're seeing in the PDP is more than a power struggle. It's a test of relevance. And if the party cannot get its own house in order, well, how can it credibly challenge for power? Nigeria's democracy, of course, depends on a strong and credible opposition. And when that opposition is fractured from within, the gap only grows wider. In the weeks ahead, of course, all eyes will be on Ibadan Convention, and not just for who is elected, but for how the process is conducted and whether the party emerges unified or further apart. We'll keep tracking the story, and of course, the next hour will turn to Extra Special, where we'll explore the role of women in politics and the push for reserved seats in the National Assembly. Please stay with us. Before that, we need to join Aisha right now, of course. In case you don't know, the elections going on right now, local government elections happening in Niger State. And we're hoping that Aisha can give us some more updates on that. Aisha, if you can hear us, can you tell us more of what's happening where you are?
I'm live in Suleja local government area of Niger State. We've been in Suleja local government all morning. Today is the D-Day for elections. We've gone around most of the polling units, in the wards within the local government. And we later moved on to this particular location where we are, the divisional police headquarters, where INEC officials told us that most of the sensitive materials were brought here from Mina yesterday just for the sake of security. They kept them here, and this morning they started the distribution from this particular divisional police headquarters, A division in Suleja here. But since morning, these materials have been deployed, but elections have not commenced in some parts of some wards in Suleja local government area because there has been tension and some form of apprehension right in front here. Most of the residents and the party officials have alleged that, especially for Niger ward, where they have majority of the polling units, most of the non-sensitive materials were not complete. The ones deployed are not complete, so they have decided to halt elections in this particular area. And earlier this morning, there was serious tension. There had to be more deployment of security. As you can look just right behind me over there, you can see some security officials, operatives of the Nigerian army, and even inside the divisional police headquarters, you can see officers of road safety, civil defense corps, and even the Nigerian police force operatives. But then I won't be speaking alone. I have a gentleman here amongst the many people who are here asking the party officials to explain why the materials are not complete. But I have a gentleman here who would want to speak with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, your name?
My name is Donald Owolija.
Okay, so what seems to be the reason for the tension this morning?
The fact about it is that the fairness of election begins from the center where they dispatch the material. If you want to know how election is going to go, you just go there and observe. For instance, what is happening behind us here? This is where the material, this is Nigeria Police Station, A Division, Suleja. This is where the material are to be dispatched. And presently, most of the material have been dispatched. The tension here is about Niger ward. Niger ward is one of the biggest ward in Suleja here. It has about 59 polling units, and yesterday those material that are not sensitive have been dispatched, and they have taken them to their center, and those are sensitive material, they kept them here. So the reason for this is not even the sensitive material, it is those they dispatched yesterday. You cannot have a polling unit of 52 and 21 is already missing. Why this material are not? And most of the agents they are using here, the SDP party members, I didn't agree with them, because the APC party believe that since the chairman from the SDP is from Niger ward, I think we have a lot of political strength there. So they were trying to see how they are going to make things not work upright for them, which is not fair for election. As I'm talking to you now, all material has gone. If you check your time, we are already in as far as after 10. This election is scheduled to start by 9 o'clock. And now the Niger ward material are still inside the police station. They are yet to be dispatched. And even the non-sensitive material that they send are not yet to complete. I don't really know what is happening this morning, because it will not be fair enough for the sake of fairness and humanity. I think if there's anything that is going to happen in this election, let us first of all consider the fairness of the election and the choice of the people, because it's all about choice, and that is what is happening here this morning.
Thank you so much. Well, you have heard from the gentleman who is from this particular Niger ward, and they are alleging some discrepancies by the INEC officials, saying that most of the materials distributed, both sensitive and non-sensitive, the ones distributed yesterday and the ones distributed this morning, are not complete for a ward that has about 59 polling units. They are alleging that most of some of the polling units within the ward are yet to receive complete materials, and they are calling on the INEC officials and all other relevant stakeholders to see to it that justice is being carried out and in all fairness and credibility. Judith Chinwete.
That update, Aisha, there from Madre ward in Suleja in Niger State. Still, the local government elections is ongoing. We switch gears now to bringing Sagir Ibrahim, who is also at another location in Niger. Sagir, is it the same thing we're hearing about discrepancies and incomplete voter materials or voting materials?
Good morning, Judith.
Good morning.
For me, you can see the spectacle. The background here is children playing football. But then I would say the reason why we're seeing these visuals now is it's not too distant from the activity that's going on this side. Now, on this side, this, by the way, is the Bariki Saleh United Basic Education, Universal Basic Education, UBE Primary School here in Mina South, Chanchaga local government. And the activity going on right now is actually the accreditation of ad hoc staff, security personnel, and also party agents who are going to be participating in the election today. Well, as at right now, it's way past 9 a.m. and the activities regarding pre-election preparations is still ongoing. These individuals right here are supposed to be at the polling unit right now, and voting is supposed to have commenced in earnest. But sadly, this place, this primary school, which is also used as the Mina South Ward Distribution Center, activity is still ongoing. So this is the visuals we have right now. For now, polling units across the different parts of Mina South local government will not have materials at the moment, because I can confirm to you that sensitive materials are still in the blocks of classrooms just ahead of the individuals who are standing right here. So as far as voting is concerned, I would say it would not start here until after these guys have been deployed to the field. Back to you in the studio, Judith.
Sagir, many thanks. We appreciate you for that update. Sagir Ibrahim and Aisha Salihu there from Niger as the local government elections are underway. We will bring you live updates as the exercise continues throughout the entirety of today. You're watching Breakfast Extra on New Central Television. Let's go to a short break, shall we? And maybe get some water afterwards. We continue. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back. Let's get on with our final hour for today. We turn our gaze to Africa. The recent elections in Tanzania and Cameroon have drawn sharp scrutiny for how they reflect democratic norms, electoral fairness, and youth engagement. In Tanzania, protests claim hundreds were killed after opposition exclusion. In Cameroon, the incumbent president, Paul Biya, aged 92, was declared winner despite opposition claims of fraud and unrest.
We're now joined by Professor Akum Bom McAnthony and Dr. Asong Michael Kumba, former presidential aspirant in Cameroon, to explore what these developments mean for democracy in Africa and Nigeria's space within it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to start off with you, Professor McAnthony. In Tanzania, the ruling Chama cha Mapinduzi party now won another sweeping victory amid reports of opposition arrests and restricted campaign space. Observers like the Commonwealth, the EU noted irregularities. From your perspective, how do these elections compare to previous Tanzanian polls in this continuity, or is this continuity, or would you say this is like a decline in democratic standards? This question is to you, Asong. Asong, if you can hear me, I'll just bring the question over to you. How would you rate this particular Tanzanian election? Would you call it a decline, or this is some sort of improvement in elections in that country?
I would term it an electoral barrier. That's simply because when you look at the whole political landscape of Tanzania, you are going to realize that the acting president, who is President Samia, actually did everything to exclude all other political parties. And this is something which is very, very common in our African context, and particularly even in Cameroon, which we saw this year, major political actors and prominent political actors being set aside from the presidential race. So we could clearly see this in Tanzania, notwithstanding the fact that all the other political leaders, even those in the ruling party, because it's worth noting that the ruling party has been in control of the political landscape of Tanzania since 1992. And of course, due to that, there have been many political leaders who have taken positions. And of late, we had the ambassador of Tanzania to Cuba, Humphrey Polpol, who was being adopted. So you see, everything was being organized in a way that main political actors were put aside. Other political actors, like the political leader of the Chadema party, was being put in detention for treason, and other political actors of the ACT party in Tanzania were being excluded. So this all goes to show that elections in Africa, on a general note, is a sham. Those who have power control each and every political activity, and also they control the elections. So we even ask ourselves if democracy really exists in Africa, and what is the legal value of democracy when we realize that those in power are doing everything in their means and in their possibility to make sure that they secure powers for themselves. So we can call it an electoral dictatorship, and this is something very rampant in Africa.
Very rampant in Africa indeed. We saw the fallout of the elections both in Cameroon and very recently in Tanzania with the protests as well as, riot police being deployed, intimidation, ballot box stuffing and grabbing, and with reports of, overall deaths as well, like I mentioned earlier. What does this tell you about the cost of human lives when it comes to exercising your civic responsibility to uphold democracy? And the clear display of impunities as we've seen in Cameroon and Tanzania. Let me come to you, McAnthony, if you're with us.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning. And I also want to greet my fellow panelists, Dr. Asong. It is a pleasure to be here today. I also want to say that I think democracy in Africa is a sham from what I have been able to experience firsthand. From 1992 in Cameroon to date, what we call democracy in Cameroon has always been in this direction which we experience this year, where if it is not ballot stuffing, it is going to be rigging, in fact open rigging. It is going to either be intimidation or repression, like we just experienced a couple of days ago. You see, it is a situation which, like Ason said, in Africa, it seems as if the whole idea of democracy is supposed to be something that should be a grab of power, where those who are in power maintain themselves in power eternally. It is indeed sad, because that is not what they borrowed from the West. If we're even talking of Western democracy, which we were thinking that might be the borrowed, the kind of democracy they are struggling to exercise here is not the democracy we should encourage. We have experienced a lot of deaths in these few days just past because somebody wants to maintain himself in power. We saw a lot of economic wastage, because I saw how young people went around vandalizing. Not only vandalizing, there was arson, there's a lot of destruction economically, as well as a life. Like you just asked the question, the cost of a life. There's nothing that could be equivalent to the life of an individual. There's no cost that can be attached to the life of an individual, irrespective of the state of that individual's power. So I think it is an insult when we allow such to continue in the name of democracy. I think also as Africans, it is time for us to get to that position where we should make power not become a mystery. It should become something that we should demystify it. We should make it look normal, that if you are there, if it is time for you to leave, you should leave. I've seen some countries, it is true that
Dr. Anthony, I'd like to just butt in there. But then again, I'd like to ask you, Mr. Achong, now, when it comes to elections, especially in Cameroon, this particular year's election returned an 90-year-old president, talking about Paul Biya, who has been in power for more than 4 decades now. What does this say about, power succession, or what I say, generational transition now when it comes to politics in Africa?
Well, it's a very funny question. I am laughing, but I'm actually supposed to be weeping. There's one thing I want to say. Today we talk about African independence. We talk about the independence of our various African countries. But I would like to tell you that unfortunately, Africa and its 54 countries have never been independent. When we take the case of Cameroon, we are going to realize that our major political actors who fought for the independence of our nation, Cameroon, like Umnyobe, NS1G, Felix Mumie, Afana, they were all killed. They were all killed, and the French colonial master put in place a puppet who was our first president, President Amadou Ahidjo. And this French puppet had a role to play, as he made sure that he had to quench every rebellion and every political leader that strove for our full independence. And then he signed the colonial accord, making our country dependent on the French colonial master. And as we all know, I think you know about the colonial accords, there are about 11 of them. And from there, President Ahidjo ruled for over 2 decades. After that, instead of him to make sure that he organizes elections so that the people can choose those whom they really love and those who can take them to the next level, he decided to make a successor. who is President Biya that we have today. Now, you're going to realize that even though we claim to have a democracy, we have never practiced democracy, because we have practiced some sort of aristocracy, we have practiced some sort of dictatorship that is being based on the transfer of power from one individual to the other. Now, it becomes very difficult for us then to get Biya out of power, right? Because the manner in which he took power wasn't through elections, it was through this succession type of mechanism.
Speaking of succession type of mechanism, right? And I hate to, to cut you there, but I want to hold you on that because we're really pressed for time. So in a minute, right? Let's talk about the silence or the crickets that we've heard from the AU as well as the regional blocs that are, overseen by the AU. But most importantly, seeing what is happening in the Sahel region of Africa. Now we've seen Mali, Guinea, and them being put. I think I've forgotten the last country now, and help me with that. Who have pulled out of ECOWAS, have now gone to a military junta. And we've also had murmurings of what could have been a coup here in Nigeria, allegations of a coup here in Nigeria. And now there is now issues of succession and opposition dwindling in Cameroon, as well as Cote d'Ivoire and Tanzania. Why are we seeing silence from all of these persons who are meant to be governing Africa? Can they uphold or hold these countries to power? Very quickly, please.
Well, what you have to know is that, like the UN, the African Union is a toothless bulldog. We all know that the African Union was being put in place by the UN, and even all the other regional blocks which have been implemented were in one way or the other being put in place by the UN. And when you talk about the UN, we're talking about the big five. America, France, Russia, China, and Britain. And you realize that amongst those big five, you have France and you have Britain, who are the major colonial masters that govern us. So now, if we have these institutions which are being put in place by our colonial masters, how do you expect them to actually tell us what to do? How do you expect them to play their role? And that is the reason why it becomes extremely difficult for those bodies to talk. And it's worth noting that the division we have in Africa will help the colonial master have an advantage to keep on exploiting our natural resources.
And on that note, this is where we are going to close the curtains on this discussion. I must say thank you to Dr. Nkumba as well as Professor Mark Anthony. I wish we had enough time to continue, but we're half fire up our feet to end this discussion due to a paid programming. But I want to say thank you to our guests for coming on, and also thank you for tuning in all the way from 8 a.m. down to this hour. It's been conversation after conversation, insights and on issues that matters for our health as well as our governance and polity. Well, join us tomorrow. Chebeta is still here. He ain't going nowhere. Join him live, and his monologue is coming on Saturday sharp. Sunday 8 a.m.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's how they are rushing. I don't even know what I'm saying again. Bye bye. See you.